you for being here today. As you know, coal is an important fuel for electricity. It's not only my home state of Montana, but nationwide. In fact, more than half our electricity in Montana comes from coal, nationally about 40%. It is all about our good-paying jobs in Montana. It's for our tribal members in Montana, as well as generating nearly $120 million in tax revenues that we depend on for our schools, our teachers, our infrastructure. In fact, it's Montana coal that goes out to the Midwest and powers Detroit Edison, that powers our automobile industry. And so it's very, very important here we maintain and grow this industry. And bottom line is it keeps electrical prices low and puts food on the table for Montana families. But I can tell you, we are very frustrated. We are frustrated with the lack of meaningful consultation from your agency as it's been developing the regulations for coal-fired plants. Studies have shown that wholesale electric prices will spike as high as 25% in Montana households, which results in about $110 a year in increased prices. I'm very concerned your agency is not taking into account potential impacts back in Montana. Let me give you an example. There was a listening session regarding these proposed regs. It was 2 states away from Crow Agency, which is really ground zero for much of our coal activity. That's the headquarters of the Crow Tribe of Montana. 2 states away, 500 miles. That'd be the equivalent of having a listening session in Washington, D.C., and telling the folks in Detroit to drive to Washington to let their voices be heard. The Crow Tribe, in fact, there's 2 Crow Tribe members here today. They rely on coal production for their jobs. In fact, 2/3 of their annual budget depends on coal. This is how we fund the Crow Elder programs, higher education for tribal youth, and other essential services for 13,000 rural citizens. In fact, the unemployment rate today in Crow country is 47%. Without these coal jobs, it goes up north of 80% unemployment. It is a path into poverty if we eliminate these coal jobs. 90% of the coal mined at the mine near Crow Agency is sold to power plants in Minnesota, which would be strongly encouraged to retire their plants because of the EPA's Clean Power Plan standards. In fact, the Senate Committee on Indian Affairs, which I serve on, we just held the first ever Energy and Jobs Indian Affairs U.S. Senate field hearing in Crow Agency in Montana. We invited the EPA to testify. They declined. And we think it's very important. In fact, I again make an offer. If you come to Montana, I'll pick you up in my Ford. We'll drive from Billings. And I'd love to have you really listen to the people there in Crow country and hear their heartfelt concerns around where this is all headed for their livelihoods in Montana. So we had this great field hearing. We had 200 people show up in a room, primarily from the Crow tribe. And so my first question, have you had a chance to review the input that was given at that field hearing? It just happened right after Easter.
Yeah, I myself have not. I have had certainly a number of discussions with the folks who work in Montana that are looking at developing plans. I've been encouraged by those discussions because as far as I know, coal will continue to be a significant source, and they feel there's many opportunities to move forward on compliance. But if there are concerns that we haven't heard, or if there's discussion I should catch up with you on, I'm more than happy to do that.
I would like to get a follow-up so you could hear directly from the Crow people. We had a member from the Navajo tribe come up as well and testify at that hearing. In fact, our Attorney General testified as well. He's filed joint comments with the Crow Nation on the rule, and I don't know who's reviewed them. I'm assuming, have you seen those comments yet?
We received close to 4 million comments on this rule, so I haven't reviewed them all myself, but I certainly can consult my staff who are looking at
I just would ask,
you know,
we've got a nation, the Crow Nation, as well as our Attorney General, to make sure that that testimony is heard. Most of their comments surrounded the impact that is going to happen in the Midwest utilities who are customers of Crow coal and how their concerns can be mitigated. I know there's discussion about working with the governors, so forth. Our governor also filed comments on the EPA's power plan.
Yes.
Our governor's a Democrat.
Yes.
He's filed comments on this, and we've all expressed concerns over these proposed changes. Importantly, allowing the states, let me just say this, to submit their own implementation plans does nothing to fix the issue that the Montana Crow Nation will lose because their customer base, 90% of this coal is used outside of Montana. So it's really dependent on what Minnesota and Michigan are going to be inputting on these rules, not just what Montana has to say on it, because we're mining it and shipping it out to the Midwest. So I guess my question is, when can you review the input from that field hearing? Because the livelihood of these Crow tribal members depends on what happens with the coal industry.
Well, I want you to know we will look at each and every comment. I'm more than happy to look at those comments myself, and I will certainly do that.
I appreciate that, because again,
Okay.
what's at stake here is literally there's not another path right now for good paying jobs on the Crow
Well,
Reservation
thank you for
without these
calling
coal
it to my
jobs.
attention. I will do
I
that.
appreciate that, and thanks for looking into it.